So again, welcome everyone. This is Help, I'm Being Ghosted on Craigslist, today's vFlyer webinar. For anyone who just joined, my name's Dan Lenahan. I'm the Marketing and Training Manager at vFlyer. And this is the third or fourth webinar that we've led on Craigslist ghosting. We've done other Craigslist webinars before, but more recently we've been doing more of these ghosting webinars just because it's become a more common phenomenon, and we find that a lot of people have questions about it. So I hope that today's webinar answers any questions that you have about ghosting and provides you with some strategies to avoid it. So hopefully you can all see my screen. I'll just note that I have you all on mute. Since we have a pretty big group today, I want to I'm going to leave you on mute basically to reduce background noise. I do still want you to ask questions, of course. That's what these webinars are all about. So in your control panel, there's a questions tab. You can type in your questions there. I'll get all of those. At the end of the session, we'll do a Q&A session. I'll try and keep an eye out for questions as they come in so that I can answer them there and then. But also, if you're having any issues with either screen sharing or the audio, definitely let me know via that questions tab, and that way I can make adjustments. All right, here's a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. We'll talk generally about what ghosting is and why it can occur. I'll show you how to post a vFlyer ad to Craigslist. So we'll go over the basics there. It might be old hat to some of you, but maybe not to others. Third, I'll show you how to minimize the risk of ghosting. So there's no way of preventing ghosting 100%. That's entirely up to Craigslist and not to us mere mortals. But there are certain ways that you can minimize, even significantly minimize the risk that one of your Craigslist ads will get ghosted. So we'll go over some of those strategies. Number 4, and this is important, what to do if your ads are consistently being ghosted. And then finally, again, we'll do a Q&A session. Typically in these ghosting webinars, people have lots of questions. So again, please don't hesitate to submit your questions. And the webinar is going to probably last about a half hour. Give or take a few minutes, again, depending on how many questions people have. All right, so ghosting basics. So I have a little definition of ghosting in this slide. Ghosting is the deliberate hiding of ads posted to Craigslist for the purpose of preventing overposting and other abuse of the service. So I don't know exactly when Craigslist started ghosting ads. I have 1995 up there just because that's the year Craigslist started. But in any case, it's at least been in the last few years. And I would say in the last year, ghosting has become a bigger issue for many, many Craigslist users. Before, it was mainly people who were clearly, blatantly violating Craigslist terms of use, posting 150 ads in a day, posting ads to, or I should say posting the same ads to different locations and in different categories, and those were the people whose ads were being ghosted. Now it's more like people who are following Craigslist terms of use, aren't overposting or only posting, a handful of ads a week, maybe even fewer than that, and some of their ads are getting ghosted. So that seems to be the new phenomenon. An ad can be ghosted, and I touched on this already, for several reasons. The poster is posting the same ad to multiple locations and or categories. That's a no-no. You're only supposed to post an ad to one location and one category, one category, and those should be the most appropriate location and category for that ad. The poster is overposting. So Craigslist doesn't set strict limits on how many ads you can post in a day or in a week, but they do say in their terms of service that you can't repost the same ad within 48 hours of the last time you posted it. So they do make that pretty clear, and that's a good kind of rule of thumb to follow. The ad contains content that's prohibited in Craigslist's terms of use. So there might be certain keywords in the ad, certain kinds of content. If the ad is especially link heavy, that could conceivably trigger ghosting. I mentioned keywords. And then finally, in some cases, there's no apparent reason that an ad is ghosted. We see this sometimes where a vFlyer user will report their ad being ghosted. We'll take a look at the ad, and we won't be able to find anything that we can think would cause this ad to be ghosted. And in many cases, the person isn't overposting to Craigslist. This might be the first post that they've done in a month on Craigslist, and yet the ad still gets ghosted. So those are the trickiest cases that we run into. But those are some of the reasons that an ad can be ghosted. Okay. For anyone who doesn't know or needs a refresher, here's how vFlyer handles Craigslist ads. Because we don't post to Craigslist directly. Craigslist prohibits that in its terms of use. So the first step is you create and publish a flyer, and vFlyer generates the Craigslist HTML code for it. Number two, you copy that HTML code, go to Craigslist, create a new post, and then you paste that HTML into the description field. And that's how it works. And at that point, normally you finish the posting process, and then about 15 minutes later, your ad shows up. Your beautiful flyer is in it. It's got all the photos from your flyer, and that's how it works. And in the majority of cases, that is how it works. It's only in a, as far as we can tell, a relatively small percentage of cases where ads are being ghosted. Now let me show you, whoops, let me see if I can find my browser. Let me show you how the process actually works. So I'm in my demo vFlyer account right now. There are a couple ways that you can access the Craigslist HTML. One, you can do it right from your home page. So if I want to post this flyer here, first I can just select any flyer, any published flyer from my drop-down menu here. And then I highlight the HTML and copy it. That's probably the easiest way of doing that. You can also click the Flyers tab and select the flyer that you want to post there. But if we do it from the home page, I've copied the HTML code. I'm going to check this box to exclude the email address from my HTML code. That's something that Craigslist has been discouraging in recent months. All right, so I'm going to copy that again. And now I'll just click Launch Craigslist. And that opens up Craigslist in a new browser window. At this point, I can either log into my Craigslist account by clicking My Account, or I can just click Post to Classifieds and post without logging into an account. And that's what I'll do here. And I'll just quickly go through this process. This is a rental, I think. And I'll choose my neighborhood. Okay, and now I'm on the screen where I can create the post. So first thing I'll do is paste the HTML code that I copied into the posting description field. Posting title, condo for rent. We'll do the rent, number of bedrooms, and then finally an email address. And you probably are aware of this, but you don't need to upload any other photos or add any other text, assuming that you have the photos and the text that you want to use already in your flyer. That's all in the HTML code. So I'm just going to click the Continue button. And we can see a preview of what this flyer will look like. And so we've got a nice custom branded theme here. We're using a window layout that has these two photos at the top. So really nice presentation. I'm really liking this flyer here. Now I'm not actually going to go through the entire posting process, but if I were, I would just click this Continue button at the bottom. It would have me type in the CAPTCHA code and then agree to the terms of service. And in about 15 minutes, my ad will show up on Craigslist. So again, that's how it normally works. Um, Now, in some cases, of course, the ad doesn't show up. And we went over some reasons in the last slide of why an ad might be ghosted. And those are, again, the most common reasons. But sometimes it's not as clear why one ad gets ghosted and maybe another ad that's very similar shows up fine. Here are some pretty basic, straightforward ways of minimizing the risk of an ad being ghosted. And I've broken it down into good and bad, and they kind of match up. So in the good column, reposting the same ad no more than once every 48 hours. So I know you want your ad to be at the top of the list in Craigslist as often as possible. But it's really important that you follow this once every 48-hour rule. If you don't, you're just inviting ghosting. Posting each of your ads to the appropriate location and category, also really important. In some cases, whatever it is you're advertising might not be specific to one location. I mean, you might have a vacation rental or a timeshare, and you want to advertise it to multiple markets. Unfortunately, Craigslist isn't really optimized for that, and you'll have to pick one location to advertise, or I should say, to post that ad. That's not to say that you couldn't have different ads for the same listing or the same service that are, I guess, written specifically for a certain location. And we see people do that. I'd say as long as the content of each ad is different enough from the others, you should be okay. Granted, Craigslist can also track your IP address, which is kind of the location of the computer that you're posting from. And so if it sees a bunch of ads that are being posted to multiple cities and they're coming from the same IP address, that could cause ghosting of at least some of those ads as well. So just something to be aware of there. Moving down the good list, varying the content of each different ad you post. And this is also really important. In terms of creating your ad, this is probably the most important thing to remember. You want each of your ads, the text in each of your ads, to be different enough from all of the others that Craigslist doesn't think you're just reposting the same ad. So one place where we see this come up is apartment communities. Typically an apartment community or an apartment complex will have different floor plans, each with a different number of bedrooms and bathrooms. But same community, and in many cases the features and the amenities of the units are the same. So the temptation is to just have the same description, same title, and change the number of bedrooms and bathrooms and the rent amount. When you do that to Craigslist, you're just posting, 2 or 3 of the same ad multiple times. So again, for each of those ads, you want a different title and a description that's different enough from the others that Craigslist doesn't think you're just reposting the same ad. So you want to change more than 1 or 2 words in the description. It doesn't, every word in the description doesn't need to be different from every word in the others. But again, you want it to be reasonably different. Using short titles and descriptions in your flyers is also a good rule of thumb. So in our observations, we found that flyers with really long titles or long descriptions, 5 or 6 paragraphs, are more likely to be ghosted than flyers with short titles and paragraphs that are just 1 or 2 short paragraphs long. And then finally, and this is kind of a random one, avoiding comma-separated lists in your flyers. For whatever reason, having multiple commas in your title or your description can cause an ad to be ghosted. Doesn't always happen, but that can be a cause. And my understanding is that can be a sign that the person posting is trying to stuff keywords in the ad. So when people do that, they often separate their keywords with commas. So if you're including comma-separated lists in your descriptions, I would just recommend removing the commas, using hyphens as bullet points in your descriptions, or just cutting out the list entirely. you may be able to include some of those features in, say, the features or the attributes section of your flyer. So those are good things to do. And then on the bad side, I'll just quickly go through these. Reposting the same ad more than once every 48 hours. That's a major no-no. Posting the same ad to multiple cities and or categories, also a no-no. Using the same or similar text in different ads. Again, try to avoid it. Keep your titles and your descriptions short. And then finally, limit your use of commas in your flyers. I know it's weird, but that can cause ghosting. All right, your ad is ghosted. You follow Craigslist's rules. You don't overpost, yet your ad appears to be ghosted. So what do you do? This is the trickiest question and kind of the main question that we're trying to address here in this webinar. All right, steps to handle a ghosted ad. First, and this is important, double check that the ad is in fact ghosted. If it shows as active in your account, which means that it's highlighted in green, but it's nowhere to be found, then it was probably ghosted. If it's showing as another color in your account, then it's not active. If you didn't post through a Craigslist account, you should have received a self-publishing email from Craigslist. And in that email, there's a link. You need to click that link and then click the publish button in order for it to be actually posted. So if you didn't get that email or you didn't click the link in it or click the publish button, then your ad wasn't actually posted. So go through that, make sure it is in fact posted and active before you conclude that it was ghosted. If you do conclude that it was ghosted, that is, you posted it, you wait 15 minutes, you check the category, the location, it's not showing up. You wait another 15 minutes, you check again, there are other ads posted after yours that are showing up, but yours still isn't, then you know it's ghosted. So in that case, you might as well delete the ad. And again, if you posted through a Craigslist account, you could just go in and delete the ad right from your account page. So a ghosted ad is not going to show up. You may as well remove it and start over. If you posted vFlyer HTML, review the text in your flyer. So as I discussed previously, longer descriptions, longer titles tend to cause ghosting more than shorter titles and descriptions. So if you have a description that's longer than a couple paragraphs, trim it down. If you've got a lot of commas in your description, remove those. So reformat the text accordingly. Let's see, it looks like we have a question. Okay, I'm going to get through the rest of this this slide, and then I'm going to address the question that just came in because it's on a slightly different topic. Okay, once you've reviewed the content of your flyer, try switching from a custom to a standard theme or vice versa. So every flyer uses either a custom or a standard theme. The standard themes are the ones that are available to every user. They're under the standard heading on your themes list. A custom theme is a theme that's created using our custom theme editor. In any case, the HTML that we generate for each is different. So switching from one to the other can result in your ad showing up. It's more variation in your different ads. So try switching from one to the other. If you make any changes to the flyer, of course, republish. That's going to regenerate and update your Craigslist HTML. And then finally, you want to wait at least 48 hours from the last time you posted the ad before you repost it using the updated HTML. Again, Craigslist limits the frequency that you can repost the same ad to once every 48 hours. So unless you make really significant changes to the text in your ad, you want to make sure that you're waiting that 48 hours. And in the meantime, you can try posting just a normal Craigslist ad with a little bit of text, maybe a couple photos, just to get your ad up there. And then you can try posting your vFlyer HTML again. Okay, we had a question from one of our attendees. What do you do if you think Craigslist has banned your IP address? Is there any recourse? That's a really tricky question. And to be honest, I don't have an exact answer for that. And I'm not sure anyone outside of the Craigslist organization does. For one thing, if you can change your IP address or post from a different IP address, that's a relatively straightforward workaround to that. I know there are services out there that allow you to kind of mask your IP address or temporarily change it. You can look into that. If you do a Google search for change IP or mask IP, you're likely to find a number of services that offer that. Aside from that, I don't know. You're not likely to get very far with Craigslist. I would also say, try posting different types of content. So, if you've just been posting HTML to Craigslist, try posting, again, just a normal text and photo Craigslist ad. See if it shows up. If it does, then, it's probably not your IP address. It's just probably the type of ads that you're posting, the frequency with which you're posting. So try that, and if you're still having problems with that, you can always contact vFlyer's support team. We can take a closer look. But good question. If you have any other questions about IP addresses or anything like that, feel free to share those. All right. Another approach, if you find that your ad is being ghosted, you can try using our limited HTML code. And we introduced this in late last year. It's basically a shorter, more lightweight HTML code for your flyers. And it's only generated for custom theme flyers. So if you're using a standard theme, you're going to need to switch to a custom theme and then republish in order to get the limited HTML. But it shows up on your flyer summary page. You'll see it in this slide. It's outlined in red. So it's right below the normal Craigslist compatible HTML. Again, it's a more lightweight HTML, so it's less likely that Craigslist is going to ghost an ad that uses it. The more HTML that you have in your Craigslist ad, the higher the chances or the higher the risk that the ad might be ghosted. So again, doesn't always happen, doesn't even happen in the majority of cases, but that can be a factor. So try the limited HTML, and if we go back to our vFlyer account, if you're accessing it from the home page, so we've got your flyer dashboard here, you select your flyer. In the format drop-down menu, you'll find limited Craigslist here. And this is your limited Craigslist HTML. And then again, if we go to the flyers page, the summary page, this is where you're taken after you publish the flyer. You'll see the Craigslist limited HTML below the standard HTML. And the process of posting it is exactly the same. You just copy it and then go to Craigslist. You can click the Launch Craigslist link up here and then paste it in the description field. And I'll show you what the limited HTML looks like just so you can get a sense. It looks largely the same as the normal HTML. And the main difference and the reason that it's shorter is that we actually show an image of your flyer at the top. So this whole thing, from the header image up here down to the vFlyer ID down here, this is a single image. So if I try to highlight the text in it, you can see I'm just dragging an image. So this is what shortens the HTML. And then below that, we've got the rest of the content from the flyer. And you can see it looks a little different from what we had before, but it's all there, and all the photos are there. So you can try that. and that's a good next step. If that doesn't work, and you find that your ad is still being ghosted using the limited HTML, there is one other recourse, and this is sort of a last resort. Above the limited HTML box, there's a checkbox that says exclude search text. So if you check that, that's going to remove everything from the HTML except that image of the flyer. So if we go back to the flyer, I'm going to check this exclude search text box. And this significantly reduces the size of the HTML, or the amount of HTML used. So I'm going to copy that. And in Craigslist, I'm going to remove the HTML. And now I'm going to just paste right there. And you can see it's just 2 lines of HTML code. So when we click continue, now all I have is this image. The drawback is that, again, since the image, none of the text in it is searchable. So if someone types in any of the keywords that you used in your description field into Craigslist search, your ad is not going to come up unless you use that keyword elsewhere in the ad. But I can say with confidence in all cases where we've had users try using or I should say try excluding their search text, their ad has shown up, at least in my experience, just, again, because it's so little HTML and you're basically just posting an image to Craigslist. Now, getting back to the question about Craigslist blocking your IP address, if in fact that's the case, then even excluding the search text is probably not going to help you, but it's at least worth a try, unless you've verified that Craigslist is absolutely blocking your IP address. So again, that is done simply by checking this exclude search text box here. Okay. And here you can see an image. This is a different flyer, but you can see what it looks like. And that's it. All right. We're actually at about 1:30, almost on the dot. So we did pretty well in terms of time. But if any of you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you've run into problems with ghosting yourself and you want to kind of strategize about how you can avoid it in the future, feel free to share, again, using the questions section of your control panel. So anyone have any other questions? One more thing to keep in mind with regard to Craigslist. Craigslist has a help desk forum. You can access it through their, there are links to it on their website. Keep in mind that most of the people posting to the forum are not Craigslist employees, are not in any way officially affiliated with Craigslist. They're just members of the Craigslist community who kind of care enough to post to their forums. So you'll get a range of opinions. You'll have people saying Craigslist doesn't allow HTML at all, which is simply not true. So if you're reading through the Craigslist forums, keep that in mind. Take it with a grain of salt. I would recommend if you're posting vFlyer HTML to Craigslist and you're finding that it's being ghosted, contact our support team, support@vflyer.com. Our 800 number is right there. We will take a look at your ads. We'll look at the content in them. We'll ask you about your posting frequency. And typically we've been able to make some recommendations to our users that have helped them have their ads show up. So feel free to contact us if your ads are being ghosted. All right, last call for any questions. This might be the fewest number of questions that I've gotten in one of these ghosting webinars, but that's okay. All right, well, if no one has any other questions, I just want to say that I hope you found today's webinar useful and that some of the tips that I gave you for both avoiding ghosting and responding when your ad gets ghosted, I hope you found them helpful and that you'll be able to put them to use in case your ad gets ghosted. I hope it doesn't get ghosted in the first place. But if it does, try what I recommended. And again, if you're continuing to run into ghosting problems, give us a call or send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to help. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for attending today's webinar, and I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. Take care.